All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Builders Call. Today I'm excited because we've got a 10-week action plan we're going to talk about, and we're actually 12 weeks to convention. So 10 weeks was built out on purpose because there's a cushion in the last two. So what the framework for today's call is going to look like is I'm going to go through each item, and each item's designed to be a focus for each week. And with that focus for each week, it's going to give you a different and a new and evolving conversation to be in with people that will be adding value first, investing in relationships on an ongoing basis, and then being that person that's positioned because you've been consistently in that kind of communication. I saw a post this morning that went up from Rosie Rodriguez. It was actually really fantastic. And it was a question of, are you a consumer or are you a contributor when it comes to social media, to the things that you're taking in, that you're reading, that you're listening to, that you're looking at? Are you consuming or are you contributing? And so this conversation about a 10-week plan is entirely about contribution. And in that contribution, being able to really be a valued resource for people. So we're going to just jump right in. And then if there's any questions along the way, I do not lose track. If you just, raise your hand, take yourself off mute, interject yourself in the conversation, because nobody really wants to hear me talk for the entire call. So we definitely welcome some engagement, and this will be on the replay, of course. Okay, so first week, which is this week, we're going to talk about something called Give the Gift. This is a concept that I learned from Matthew Ferry when I took his mastermind. It was part of his mastermind in 2020. For those of you that don't know who Matthew Ferry is, Mike Ferry might ring a bell, which he's well known in the coaching industry for real estate. Matthew Ferry is his son. He for many years worked within the Mike Ferry organization, and his specific role in that organization was to work with the top producing, top of the food chain agents. And he worked with them on not just the mindset and skill set, but really the inside out, outside in, how to be fulfilled and playing a really big game in business and in life. And so he wrote the book called Quiet Mind, Epic Life, because what he discovered amongst top producing people is that it doesn't matter how much they're producing. And in some cases, the more they produce, the more noisy the brain gets. And it's just, enough is never enough. And so he has this whole concept called giving the gift, which we're going to start off with today. Before we do that, though, for anybody that's catching this on the recording, I want to go back to the Builders Bootcamp that you'll find on empirebuilders.pro under Attraction and Recruiting, because these 10 weeks of action lay over the top of the foundation of that Builders Bootcamp, which is number one, that you've got your personal story in place. And what I mean by that is your go-to conversation and messaging in the marketplace of how you're communicating your vision, so that there's a place for other people to see themselves participating, learning, growing, and benefiting as a result of how you communicate that. And then the second piece is really important in that boot camp for what we're going to talk about over these next 10 weeks of action items. And that is that you have a clear and defined list of relationships that you are developing and investing in. I have the number 200 in the boot camp, because if you only have 20, and you can get discouraged really quickly. The size of your relationship list will dictate the size of your vision. So it could be new relationships you're developing, ones that you haven't even met yet can go on that list today. They can get added today. So those two things are going to be really important as we talk about the action plan for the next 10 weeks. So number one is give the gift. And give the gift is a conversation where you are reaching out and checking in. It's 5-10 minutes, and it is not, you're not here to ask for anything. You are here to give, and giving the gift of you, and giving the gift of your time, and giving the gift of your energy, and giving the gift of your care into another person. And so in this week one of giving the gift, if you were to imagine, like, let's just say, and so I know for me personally, to stay most energized, I'm like an hour to 90 minutes, where if I'm focused and I can silence everything else and get in for 90 minutes. I mean, let's say you had 9 conversations, right? In those 90 minutes. That's and you're doing that, an hour and a half of intentional time for this week. Um, that is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right there. What's 9 times 4? 36. I'm pretty sure. Is math the same in Hawaii where it's 3 hours earlier? I think it is. Okay. So that's 36 relationships that you've invested in and that you've given the gift just this week. And be intentional, like, who are the prioritized top 36 if you were to spend an hour and a half of that focused time? And in that giving the gift, it is, if I was reaching out to Joseph, I would use the conversation framework that we train on in the third party validation training, which is clearing the time. I would say to Joseph, "Hey Joseph, it's Casey Council GI. I can't believe I got you live instead of getting your voicemail. I've only got about 10 minutes before I'm walking into something, but wanted to check in with you. Is now a good time?" And now we've got 10 minutes together, right? So, I've been thinking about you because of XYZ. When I think about you, I think about this, and that's where your compliment or why you would even be reaching out to that person comes into play. My purpose in calling you today is to reach out and check in, see how you're doing, and catch up because we haven't spoken in however long. And that's what it is. It's a catch up. Tell me about your family. Tell me about how business is going. Tell me about your health. Tell me about this summer. What'd you guys do this summer? Did you have a good time? Da 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 da. And that is going to receive some questions back from you. And because you're speaking with another real estate agent, and of course, there's an application for this if you're using this in your sales business and it's buyers and sellers or potential buyers and sellers, but we're going to focus on building with agents today, is that something that is on everyone's mind is what's happening next week, right? And so, in giving the gift, you could just ask someone after you've checked in with them personally. What Now, remember, some people lead with sincerity, which is care and feeling, and some people lead with competence, which is results and outcomes. So to catch both of those people, if you don't know what kind of person you're talking to, an open-ended question to be able to capture great connection with someone is, Joseph, what are you thinking and feeling about the changes that are coming up next week? Or what do you feel and what are you thinking about what's coming next week? And in this giving the gift, you actually are setting yourself up to give them a gift at the end. There is a link that Selena, would you drop it in the chat? I put it in the Slack group earlier, and it is the recording from yesterday's power up call that Leo did with Holly Mabry. She's unbelievable, right? And that could be something that, hey, listen, this has been an incredible resource and happy to share it with you to give you more confidence and clarity going into, this transition time and really a really bright and exciting future for you and for me because we're committed to being professionals in our industry. And maybe that's the gift that you give, right? In that conversation. So it could be that, it could be if that conversation goes to, we just got, there was just a write-up in Inman News that I saw that was shared that EXP is leading the way based on what we've done with the forms for what's going to be happening next week and those changes, and that of anyone putting out quality content that is applicable and beneficial for all agents. So that's another gift you could give in this context of giving the gift. So it's 9:13. I spent a lot of time on giving the gift because this is a really important foundation of that, right? It's an intentional, I'm not asking for anything. I'm checking in and I'm leaving you with something that could be great for you based on where we're at today. This conversation can go all the way into the beginning of next week and through the weekend, obviously. But imagine if you had 50 quality conversations between now and that impending date change and what that will mean next week. what that could mean for someone's business and career and the relationship that you're building, because you're not asking for anything. Again, give the gift. Okay, any questions on that before we move to number 2? All right, so number 2 is, which would be next week, which is a follow-up to see what was most impactful. If you give a gift and give something freely away, like the recording of Holly or the forms, your check-in with them is, hey, just checking in. I know we're in this week of transition and a history-making time in the industry of real estate. I hope that you found XYZ, whatever it is that you shared with them, of value, and it gave you confidence and it gave you clarity, even more than you might have already had. Wanted to check in and see what was most impactful for you out of that conversation that you had the opportunity to catch on replay. So this is week number 2, following up to see what's most impactful. Again, you're not asking for anything, right? Week number 3 is, now it is a more targeted check-in, right? So in week number 3, we're about a week in to changes being rolled out. And so this could be definitely more specific and targeted. Hey, Joseph, it's Casey. Checking in. We're a week into history making in the real estate industry. And I don't know about you, but I've been thinking about and looking at, between now and the end of the year, what is it that I want to create more, better, different in my business, given this time, this real estate landscape, and what we're doing? Is that something that you're thinking about too? And now, I mean, somebody may come back and just say, no, man, I'm thinking about how I get a better quality of life because I'm just working my brains out. And now you're in a relationship conversation with them where it's like, oh, okay, I've felt that way as well. I know a lot of people are feeling that right now. And are you open to a conversation and, some strategies about how possibly restructuring how you're doing things could relieve some of that pressure, still have your business moving forward in a great way, and give you some more of that work-life balance that can be so elusive for agents in our industry that are really wanting to excel and exceed. So that is an invitation. That is an invitation to a larger conversation. Again, these can be quick little check-ins, right? And then week 4, if it goes into week 4 and maybe you get a time set up, hey, let's grab coffee for a half hour, or let's grab a call for a half hour, and whatever that is, that you're going to set up with them, this can roll into week 4. And this conversation, we talked, for those that were at the Build event in Southern California a couple of weeks back, I talked about this idea, but this is a really important conversation to have with people. And here's the question: what is the future that you're speaking into existence by what you tell yourself and what you tell other people? So to think about that, if somebody was following you around, and this can be your conversation with the agent on the other side in week 4, is if someone was following you around completely unfiltered and just had a recording, and that recording was your conversations with other people, what you're telling them, how you're talking about things, your significant other, your health, the spiritual side of your life, your business, your clients, what would they hear you say? And if that recording was going 24 hours a day to include your subconscious mind, which is where the truth all comes out when you sleep, what's happening in there? What are you telling yourself? What are you telling yourself that you're not saying to other people? What is that dialogue? And if all we got was a written transcript, like the kind that you get when you go into the courtroom and you've got the stenographer, is that what that's called? Stenographer? Is that right? Okay. I was thinking calligraphy when I was saying stenographer, and it was like a train wreck in my head. But if we just had that, like, let's say for 48 hours, we had like a full transcript on your dialogue and what you're saying to other people, and your dialogue and what you're saying to yourself. And now if we took that out, and imagine you're not looking at your life, but you're looking at someone else's, and you're going to be able to extract themes about what's being said. You're going to be able to extract attitudes about what's being said. You're going to be able to extract feelings and emotion about what's being experienced. And And all of those things are creating your tomorrow based on how they're coming out of your mouth and what's rumbling around in your head. And the bigger question becomes, is that a future you're excited about stepping into, or one that's overwhelming, perhaps ominous, and even not one that you really want to keep going into? And so this is an opportunity to like have a conversation with somebody where you're really clearly investing in them by helping them bring awareness to something they may not be aware of. The majority of people, unless they are like rigorous in personal development, and even if they are rigorous in personal development, are running around doing things, saying things, behaving with a great lack of awareness of the impact and thinking, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Every time someone says, I can't, oh, well, I can't do that. And they don't think anything of it when they say, I can't. But I can't is a victim mentality, because what it actually means is I choose not to. Because you can, right? And how often does that word get used and people don't think about it because it's not in their awareness? So you have an opportunity, I have the opportunity to be somebody who's investing in other people. And again, we're on week 4. What is the future that you're speaking into existence based on what you're telling yourself and what you're telling other people? I can't afford it. Not true. You choose not to. I can't be there because I'm too busy. Not true. Something else is more important. And when we change the language into what is actually true, you know what? I'd really like to be there, and I made a commitment to be here at that same time. And so I want to honor my commitment. It's not I can't, it's I choose not to because I'm choosing to be somewhere else, right? And so this is not language, this is not a way of thinking that the general person is doing, particularly not in real estate. Particularly not in real estate. Okay, so any questions? We've got number 1, give the gift. Number 2, follow up to see what was most impactful about the gift you gave. Week 3, what are you looking to create more, better, different, if anything, and how can I support you in that? Week 4, what's the future you're speaking into existence based on what you're telling other people and yourself? And then number 5, week 5. So week 5 is a continuing of the investment in this person. You know, hey, just checking in. Do you ever find, and this is going to get you deeper in with someone, and could also be a place where that you're vulnerable and you share about something that's going on with you that endears you to the person you're in conversation with. And that question is, what's one thing that when you overcome this one thing that you've been dealing with for however long, and it could be a lifetime, but when you really overcome that and get to the other side of it, that everything else is going to be different. It's going to be different, right? I remember a facilitator for PSI seminars asking me that question, and it was at a time when I was having like crazy financial life. Due to all kinds of things. And this was a time where I was wanting to become a facilitator for PSI seminars, facilitating the basic. And so I'd put myself in training. Now, granted, there is no formal training process with PSI seminars. You go, you show up to every class, and they work you in on pieces. And then if you do it long enough over a period of time, and they think you're good enough, and that could be years, you may get invited to actually be an instructor. There's only 6 of them. And you may not. It's not like, oh, go take the training and you're an instructor. And so I remember Jeff Rogers was he led with competence, and sincerity was in there. His care was in there. However, it was so strong on competence. And so we had, agreements, and I walked in 5 minutes late. I was commuting from the East Bay, uh, where I dropped off my dog into San Francisco. Traffic was insane. And I walked in 5 minutes late to the grounding, and he didn't say anything in the moment, but after the grounding was done and everyone took a break before the class went in, he's like, what's up? You're 5 minutes late. And so naturally, I did what anyone would do. And I went in, instead of saying I was 5 minutes late, I take responsibility for being late. it won't happen again. I gave him a story. I was like, "Oh man, I left in plenty of time to drop off my dog. I had a half hour cushion to make sure that I could find parking and be here on time. And just like the traffic was insane. There was an accident, da 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 da." And that's what I did at that moment in time, was tell him the story of why I was late. And he goes, "I don't care why you were late. Are you late sometimes in your life?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "How often?" I'm like, "Maybe like 30% of the time, 40% of the time." Because I think I can get more in than I actually can, and I'm, like, running, and there's actually an adrenaline rush to see how much I can get in before I go, and he's like, "Yeah, well, when you overcome that one thing, it's gonna change everything about your experience and how people experience you." And, this is 14 years ago, so I distinctly remember that conversation. So what is the one thing, now this is your conversation in week 5, that when you handle or overcome it will make everything better, right? My relationship with time rolled right into my relationship with money, rolled right in my relationship with other people and appointments, and then how I was, being experienced in business. Like that one thing affected so many other things. So week 5 is that conversation. And maybe you have a story or something that that you've identified that you are willing to share in that regard. Okay, number 6 in week 6. Um, this is a continuation of the conversation. And yes, could you be checking in with someone each week? Yeah, you can be checking in with someone each week, and it doesn't have to be a long amount of time. It could just be, hey, I was thinking, right? And it could be through social media, commenting on something, or perhaps you're picking up the phone. However you're best communicating with someone. Week 6. There's an investment of time and skills to grow yourself in your business. Out of curiosity, where are you currently investing to grow? Hey, I've been looking at, if I'm reaching out to Glenn. Hey, Glenn, I was just thinking about you. I'm looking at, my life and my business between now and the end of the year. I realize that, you know, the places that I'm investing time and the places where I'm investing money are going to be the places where I have skills that I'm building to grow myself and my business. Out of curiosity, where are you right where are you right now investing to grow and build yourself and your business? What are you doing? And now you're in another open dialogue that's a value conversation. Maybe it's a book, maybe it's about personal development. Oh, by the way, we're 6 weeks in, which puts us 6 weeks out from convention. This could be a great conversation to say, what are you doing? Well, I'm committed to going to a game-changing event for real estate agents in the industry in Miami in 6 weeks. And oh, by the way, it might be helpful if you got on the registration page for eXpCon and had some ideas of some things that were going to be happening there that you are excited to learn about as a result of your investing in yourself to be going to that event. So not talking about the fact that it's eXpCon, but the fact that you're talking about the event and the value of what you're going to learn and the knowledge and the skills that you're going to pick up while you're there. And so now you're 6 weeks into this 10-week plan and you're still 6 weeks before convention. What does this mean? This means that by 6 weeks before convention, it's probably really important that you have your hotel room booked and your ticket bought for the event and a flight booked. Why? Because energetically, people will only do what you've done. And so if you're inviting someone to come with and you haven't actually made the commitment to come with, and money is a form of commitment, right? Where our money goes, energy flows. If you haven't made the financial commitment to get your stuff handled, then you're not actually going yet. Even if you say that you're not going until you're booked. And so this is a great check-in for you at week 6. And remember, this 10-week plan is about building momentum, right? Your personal momentum and bringing other people with you. If I think back to what John DeMartini says, he says that how you create wealth is by serving ever and ever greater numbers of people. Well, there's only one Glenn, there's only one Laura, there's only one Selena, and we're constrained by time. But how do we serve ever greater numbers of people? We serve ever greater numbers of people because we pool our efforts together collectively, right? So we do that in the context of the sales team if we're looking at the real estate sales side of the business. And we also do that by choosing to be in business together within eXp, a platform where there's room for people to grow within that platform, people that have not yet joined us. So when you think about a business that serves ever greater and greater numbers of people, you each have an unlimited amount of people that you can serve within this platform that start to change the dynamic of it being only about who you can serve. Okay, so that is week number 6. Week number 7 is we're starting to change things and get direct because you've got 6 weeks now of value and relationship building, and that's an opening the door to what you're doing to invest in yourself in week 6. And maybe that person says, hey, I want to come with you, and maybe they don't. In week number 7, it's a conversation. Gosh, you know what? I've really enjoyed getting to know you better over the last several weeks, right? And the things that we've shared about life and about business. And thank you for being willing to share so freely about what you're doing and what's working and the areas that you're looking to grow and the strategies that you're doing the strategies that you're using to do that. In week 7, this is the question that I love. What would it take for? What would it take for? What would it take for you to rearrange your schedule in 5 weeks and join me at this event together? We're going to meet amazing people. There's definitely going to be some fun intentionally built into it, with collaboration and community. But most importantly, the knowledge and the opportunity to skill up at a really high level. What would it take for you to join me? Not do you want to join me? Because anytime you ask a question, it's got a yes or a no at the end. Well, I want to, but then comes the story. When you ask a question that puts somebody in the context of finding an answer and being solution oriented, what would it take for? What would it take for you to join me and go with me in 5 weeks? Well, I've got to get childcare. Okay. Got to get childcare. What else? Well, how much is it? Well, I got to figure that out. Okay. That's totally figure outable. What else? Right. And so you're part of a solutions conversation with someone. What would it take for is one of my greatest, most fun questions to ask anytime someone feels like they're not seeing the vision that I'm seeing for them, or they're somehow not seeing the possibility yet. Well, what would it take for that? And you get somebody thinking about it without telling them. So it becomes their idea. So week 7 is what would it take for? And this is the first time that you're actually doing an ask. If it hasn't come up already, because everything else has been, again, that value build. So, now they've got, 5 weeks to that they could still make it happen. In week 8, conversation number 8 is, who do you know that? This is what I hear people all the time. Do you know anyone that's looking to buy or sell? You hear this in real estate all the time. And people go, no. Well, if you think of anyone, would you connect them with me? If someone asks me that question, I'm not thinking about that. It's not what I'm thinking about every day is, who do I know that's looking to buy or sell that I can connect with you? But if somebody asks me the question, who do you know? Who do you know? Now I'm thinking about, who do I know? Of all the relationships that I have, who do I know? So in the same context, in week 8, the question is, who do you know that's maybe hit a plateau or that's frustrated or that's really looking to finish the rest of this year strong in real estate? Or who do you know that has been just working so hard this year, and with the changes in the amount of actual inventory there is in real estate to sell, that they're tired and that they could use an infusion of energy and vision and inspiration? Who do you know that you work with that's like that? Who do you know? Who do you know? Who do you know? What kind of people now you're asking for referrals and introductions to agents that are their friends, that are part of the community, right? And in this, who do you know? Like, listen, I'm going, and hopefully you're going to work it out, because we had this conversation about what it would take. And in the meantime, while you're working it out, who do you know? Why? because I'm committed to helping elevate the industry, and I'm committed to helping people that are in our industry succeed and grow and thrive. And what I know is that that means getting the right people in the right rooms. And I know that this is going to be the right room for the people that are really looking to do that. So who do you know that's like that? That's week 8. Week number 9, your plan is, so week number 9 is actually 4 weeks before the actual event. And this is where it's really important. So all the conversations that you've been having with people, like it's time to land the plane and make sure that the plans are made, right? So in week number 9, confirming all flights and tickets. And that's, oh yeah, I'm going. Well, did you get your ticket? Not yet. Okay, you're not going. By when will you have your ticket? So that we can include you in our plans. We're making them. And this is going to be important because we're planning a community event that we're going to need specific commitments around numbers around. And so this will have us set up for that. We'll be talking about that on our monthly leaders call tomorrow night. So week 9 is a confirmation of all flights, all tickets, all plans. We're 4 weeks in advance. It's not, 3 days before an event where ticket prices are higher. You're 4 weeks out. You're in a 4-week window where you can still get decent flights. You can still find a place to stay. You can still get a ticket. And then week number 10 is now you are going into 3 weeks out before the event. I'm looking forward to our time together, right? As a check-in. And then as you've been out doing business in life, who else would you like to join you or to join us? And now you're back in this conversation. So if we go from the top, I'm just going to do a quick recap. Number 1, give the gift, give it freely. Week number 2, follow up to see what was most impactful about the gift you gave. Number 3, what are you looking to create more, better, different? And how can I support you in that? Week number 4, what's the future that you're speaking into existence by what you tell yourself and what you tell other people? Number 5, what is the one thing that you know that if you overcame this one aspect of yourself or your life, that everything else would shift and become better or improve? Number 6, what are you currently doing to invest in yourself? Where are you investing your time and where are you investing your money to take your skills to the next level? And now you're in a dialogue where you can exchange value again. Week number 7, what would it take for? What would it take for you finish the end of that sentence? Week number 8, who do you know that? Week number 9, confirm all flights and plans. Week number 10, looking forward to our time together. Who else would you like to join us? So you've got a very clear 10 weeks of dialogue and interaction with people that is not about, hey, have you heard about this company called eXp and what we're doing at eXp? It is value first, it's relationship based, and it is a progression that is, it's like a drip campaign, except for it's a human one. It's not something somebody's going to get in an email and look at, disregard, or never open up the email. So with that, we'll open it up for any comments, questions, ahas, feedback.
It's interesting, Casey, when you going to week 1, right? I'm new to this, and thanks for providing this. But just this week, Sunday, my husband and I took the day off to go wine tasting. And on the bus that we were sitting on, there was a couple from Livermore, and we started talking and said, I'm in real estate. She said, "Oh my gosh, my daughter's in real estate." It turns out that I used to work with her daughter. So I used that opportunity to connect with her yesterday, right? So I placed a call. I said, "It was so much fun. I went wine tasting and I saw and met your mom." But just right, not recruiting. It wasn't anything along those lines. It was just having a conversation, and it was very genuine, and it was a fantastic opportunity to connect.
I love that. When I think about one of the things, and you're obviously a great example of it as well. When I think about one of the things that Rick was so fantastic about, he would take little snippets of time. I mean, and he would make those kind of investments in people. Like it never had to be a big long conversation. And I see so much of it because I have his phone of just little texts that he sent out or little things. And And I can say just from the experience of like how many texts I've gotten where people have just said, "Hey, I'm thinking about you." Since he passed, like the fact that they took the time out to say, "Hey, I'm thinking about you," and actually sent me a message to do that, it was an investment in the relationship. And so those people have a different mind space and mind share than people that don't. And so it's such a great, and I love that you shared that example because it is it's how we make all of those connections and then how we deepen those connections and the relationships over time. And it doesn't have, sometimes it can feel overwhelming, particularly if somebody's more introverted than they are extroverted. It's like, oh my goodness, one more relationship to manage. Well, you don't have to manage a relationship to just tell somebody you're thinking about them or that you met their mom and it made them think of you and like reaching out to say hi. Like it could be easy. There doesn't have to be anything attached to it, right? And it feels great to give the gift.
Right.
Yeah, love that. All right, we have a quiet bunch today. And you know me, time is one of my highest values. So the gift of time is you all are getting it. We do not need to fill the last 20 minutes just for the sake of filling the last 20 minutes because we did what we came to do today, which was have a 10-week plan. So the recording you can catch on Empire Builders Pro under the resources tab under builders, the builders call. There's a YouTube channel there that'll house all the recordings. And so you can go back and listen to it, share it with anyone that you'd like to share it with. Everybody make it a great day. Good to see you guys. I'll see the
Great.
rest
Thank
of you. 20. All right. Bye.